Welcome to QuizGecko, who really discovered the Fibonacci sequence. Why does this strange number pattern keep appearing in nature? And which animals grow or reproduce following the Fibonacci sequence? Ready to uncover the secret? Let's start the quiz.
What comes next in the Fibonacci series? 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 52, 55, 49. The next number is found by adding the previous two, so 21 plus 34 equals 55. Which statement best reflects the early history of the Fibonacci sequence? The sequence was first discovered during the Renaissance astronomy. Fibonacci created the sequence entirely on his own in the 1200s. Ideas resembling the sequence appeared in ancient texts long before Fibonacci wrote about them. Patterns similar to the Fibonacci sequence appeared in ancient texts, and Fibonacci later popularized them in Europe in his 1202 book Liber Abaci through a rabbit breeding problem. Which formula correctly represents how the golden ratio is calculated? 1 plus square root of 5 divided by 2, 2 plus square root of 3 divided by 2, 1 plus square root of 3 divided by 2. The golden ratio comes from dividing 1 plus the square root of 5 by 2. Who is credited with inventing the golden ratio? Leonardo da Vinci invented it for his paintings. Euclid formally created it in a single work. No one. It wasn't invented but discovered gradually by many ancient cultures. The golden ratio wasn't invented by any one person. Ancient Greeks and earlier cultures simply observed it in geometry over time. Which description explains how the Fibonacci ratio approaches the golden ratio? The ratio constantly shrinks to 0. As the numbers grow larger, the ratio between consecutive numbers moves closer to the golden ratio. The ratio jumps unpredictably. As Fibonacci numbers grow, the ratio between neighboring neighbors approaches the golden ratio. Which one shows a natural pattern linked to Fibonacci numbers? Sand dunes, pine cones, thunderclouds? Pine cones have scales arranged in 2 spiral directions, and the number of spirals in each direction matches Fibonacci numbers. Which one often reflects the golden ratio in design proportions? A traffic sign, a chessboard, a credit card? A credit card's width to height ratio is close to 1.618, giving it a balanced rectangular shape. Which one tends to grow following a Fibonacci-like progression? Rabbit populations, horse herds, penguin colonies? Rabbit populations in ideal conditions double in a pattern similar to the recursive increase of Fibonacci numbers. Which object spirals in a way that can resemble a golden spiral? A steel cube, a marble sphere, a nautilus shell? A nautilus shell expands outward in a smooth logarithmic spiral where the curve widens by a constant factor. Which one is known for petal counts that match Fibonacci numbers? Tulips, daisies, cacti? Daisies often grow petals in counts like 34 or 55, which appear in the Fibonacci sequence. Which sequence begins with 2 numbers that can be freely chosen? Fibonacci-like sequences, perfect square sequences, prime sequences. Fibonacci-like sequences add each pair of previous numbers, but the starting 2 numbers can be any values. Which animal's horn growth can resemble logarithmic spirals? Snakes, parrots, rams? Ram horns curve outward with each turn growing by a constant factor, forming a spiral like those in Fibonacci patterns. Which contemporary tech logo has been rumored to follow the Fibonacci spiral? Starbucks, Twitter, Shell? The Twitter bird is often drawn using overlapping circles whose diameters follow Fibonacci numbers. Which growth pattern tends to show a ratio approaching 1.618? Car engine pistons, urban street grids, leaf phyllotaxy. Leaves often grow at a golden angle of about 137.5 degrees, which spaces them to avoid overlap and connects to the golden ratio. Which of these artworks is famously linked to golden ratio analysis? The Scream, Starry Night, Mona Lisa? Mona Lisa's face and torso can be divided into sections with proportions close to the golden ratio. Which one shows branching patterns resembling Fibonacci growth? Tree branches, telephone poles, metal wires? Tree branches often split in patterns where the number of branches follow recursive growth similar to Fibonacci numbers. Which medieval book introduced the rabbit problem using Fibonacci numbers? Codex Gigas, Liber Abaci, Book of Kells? Liber Abaci presented a rabbit breeding puzzle where each month's total depends on the sum of the previous two. Which one uses a grid built from Fibonacci numbers? Morse code chart, periodic table, golden spiral diagram? Golden spiral diagrams use squares with side links taken from the Fibonacci sequence. Which architectural feature often uses golden rectangles? Revolving doors, window frames, parking meters? Window frames in classical architecture are often shaped as rectangles whose sides approximate 1 to 1.618. Which animal's body proportions are often compared to the golden ratio? Giraffes, frogs, dolphins? A dolphin's body can be divided into sections, head, mid-body, and tail, whose lengths roughly follow golden proportions. Which musical structures sometimes reference Fibonacci ratios? Drum tuning charts, Gregorian chants, sonata form? In some compositions, major musical climaxes occur at time points close to Fibonacci fractions of the total length. Which financial chart pattern is associated with Fibonacci ratios? Market holidays, retracement levels, dividend schedules? Retracement levels use percentages based on Fibonacci ratios to identify likely points where prices may reverse. Which ancient civilization used artistic ratios similar to the golden ratio? Vikings, Mongols, Greeks? Greek artwork and buildings often relied on balanced rectangles whose sides are close to golden proportions. Which part of the human body often shows golden ratio-like proportions? Forearm to hand, knee to ankle, ear to shoulder? The length of the forearm compared to the hand often falls close to the ratio 1.6. Which famous artist is linked to golden ratio themes? Banksy, Leonardo da Vinci, Rembrandt? Leonardo often sketched human proportions using rectangles and segments that reflect the golden ratio. Which prehistoric animal's shell resembles a logarithmic spiral? Trilobite, Smilodon, Ammonite? Ammonite shells expand in wide arcs where each curve grows at a steady rate, forming a spiral like the golden spiral. Which modern field uses Fibonacci heaps? Algorithm design, political science, veterinary medicine? Algorithm design uses Fibonacci heaps because their merging and access times depend on Fibonacci-based structures. Which board game strategy references Fibonacci tactics? Scrabble, Nim, Monopoly? Nim can be solved by expressing move counts using a Fibonacci-like system to force a winning position. Which plant tends to produce leaves using golden angle spacing? Maple tree, bamboo shoots, aloe vera? Olive leaves form spirals where each new leaf appears at the golden angle, spreading evenly around the stem. Which planetary feature is visually compared to spirals? Venus's shadow, Earth's aurora, Jupiter's great red spot. Jupiter's storm system forms swirling curves that resemble logarithmic spirals found in nature. Which shape inside the human body reflects dimensions close to 2 consecutive Fibonacci numbers? Lung alveoli, DNA helix turn, ribcage curve. Each full turn of DNA measures lengths that approximate 2 neighboring Fibonacci numbers. Which sculptures often use golden ratio proportions? Ice sculptures, classical Greek statues, papier-mâché figures. Greek statues often divide the body into segments whose lengths reflect golden proportions. Which fruit forms spirals matching Fibonacci numbers? Lemons, mangoes, pineapples. Pineapple eyes form interlocking spirals counted in groups such as 5, 8, and 13. Which architectural style favored golden ratio-like balance? Gothic Revival, Renaissance, Brutalism? Renaissance architects arranged building elements in rectangles whose sides often reflect golden proportions. Which game uses recursive patterns similar to Fibonacci recursion? Jenga, charades, Tower of Hanoi? The Tower of Hanoi requires moves that grow in a recursive pattern similar to generating Fibonacci numbers. Which biological process can approximate Fibonacci population growth? Human sleep cycles, cell division under ideal conditions, animal migration? Under perfect conditions, cell populations double regularly, resembling the rapid growth seen in Fibonacci sequences. Which painter experimented with golden ratio geometry? Andy Warhol, Jackson Pollock, Salvador Dali? Dali used rectangular grids based on the golden ratio to structure some of his paintings. Which sea creature shows near Fibonacci segmentation? Seahorse, starfish, jellyfish? Starfish typically have 5 arms, a number that appear early in the Fibonacci series. Which economic index sometimes uses Fibonacci tools? Stock market charts, census statistics, weather indexes? Stock analysts apply Fibonacci ratios to identify potential price movement zones. Which visual design field uses golden rectangles for layout? Highway painting, web design, pottery glazing? Web designers sometimes place elements inside rectangles sized using golden proportions for visual balance. Which insect's family tree can be modeled with Fibonacci numbers? Ants, dragonflies, bees? Bee family trees expand based on the number of males and females in each generation, forming Fibonacci-like sequences. Which galaxy structure resembles a golden-type spiral? The Crab Nebula, the Milky Way, the Orion Belt? The Milky Way's arms curve outward in a smooth logarithmic spiral similar to natural golden spirals. Which instrument uses Fibonacci-influenced spacing? Saxophones, triangle-shaped electric guitars, violins? Violins sometimes use golden ratio spacing to position the sound holes and body curves. Which famous invention has been analyzed for golden ratio proportions? The typewriter, the iPod, the steam engine? The iPod's front panel fits near a golden rectangle when measured by height and width. Which painting composition often uses golden section placement? Graffiti tags, doodle sketches, landscape framings? Landscape art often places the horizon or focal point at a golden ratio position along the canvas. Which natural phenomenon forms spirals similar to logarithmic curves? Rainbows, hurricanes, sunsets? Hurricanes create cloud arms that widen gradually, forming a curve like the golden spiral. Which author referenced Fibonacci numbers in a thriller? Tolkien, George Orwell, Dan Brown? Fibonacci numbers appear as a puzzle clue in one of Dan Brown's popular thrillers.